Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Toilets to Titles. My name is Justin Stevens, and I'm back with you again for another off-season breakdown bonus episode. So, all 32 teams in one summer. It's kind of railed me a bit, but we're down to the nitty gritty. This is I have like 11 to go after this one, so we're in that bottom third. Before we get to the guest, I do want to throw out there real quick. You can catch our main show, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Facebook, Spotify, and of course, When a Family Breaks, our Facebook page where we buy and sell sports memorabilia. Across the bottom there, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe, that 5-star review. That 5-star review can help get you into the Frankenstank Listeners League, the 3-copy Frankenstank Listeners League. You could potentially get in for free with that 5-star review. Just screenshot it and send us that DM. Another way to support us, patreon.com/toilets to titles. If you go to patreon.com, you'd be surprised that not a lot of people were going after Toilets to Titles as their webpage. So it's not a very common name. You'll find us pretty easily. All right. So I'm going to get to the guest here. We've got David here. David's Twitter handle is @GrumpyLiftMedic. He's a longtime Browns fan since 1987. And David, go ahead and tell them where you're from.
Melbourne, Australia. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon. So it's 21:32, 9:32 p.m. here. Mate, thanks for having me. It's great to be on the show.
Outstanding. And you've done several guest spots on the Aussie Fantasy Football podcast, the Aussie Guys with AJ and G, and we've got some common connections with our show, our Toilets to Titles show. So it was just a natural fit. So I appreciate you coming on.
Appreciate you having me, mate. Thank you so much.
Outstanding. And then our next guest, Paul Brown, the Paul Brown from he's an amazing YouTuber. You got to check out the Paul Brown YouTube. But down there at the bottom, @PaulBrown_UK, Cleveland Browns vlogger and fan. How's it going today?
I'm very good, thank you. It is 32 degrees. One of you are going to have to translate that to English, to American, but it is very hot here in London today. No wind, humid. Yeah, so it's very rare you see me without my Browns cap on, but it's so hot, I had to take it off.
Yeah, well, I'm sorry to hear that, man. It's like 7:30 in the morning here right now, so I don't have to worry about that too much right now, but I do have to get out this afternoon. It's been pretty hot and miserable here lately as well. That's what we get for living in the northern hemisphere, I guess. Hey, speaking of the northern hemisphere, I'm only a 4.5-hour drive, 5-hour drive from Cleveland, and today's show is about the Cleveland Browns, long historied team, Cleveland Browns. So I'm excited to talk about the Cleveland Browns today. We've already gone through all the other stuff, so I'm just going to jump right into it as long as you guys are ready for it.
We're ready.
Far away, my friend.
So my first question for you is actually about that offensive line. So last season, you guys added Jack Conklin and Jedrick Wills, and they were incredible additions last season that really helped improve the offensive line. And typically, winning breeds winning, and talent breeds talent. And I really feel like they kind of picked up the rest of that offensive line as well. Is there anything that's happened this offseason to make you question if the Browns can still continue to have a great offensive line?
Not a thing.
Yeah, nothing at this stage. We still need to extend Whiteteller, but otherwise, for this season, no issues.
No issues at all.
Don't see a problem. You've got the king, the genius, the Einstein of offensive line coaches, Coach Callahan. You couldn't ask for a greater man to be coaching that 5 plus the backups. You know, you've got a couple of good swing tackles, got a couple of good swing guards. We'll see how the young fella goes in his second season as a backup center to JC. Nick, his surname escapes me. I should have looked it up. As a swing center / guard, that conversion from left to right to left for Jed seemed to go well, and it's only going to get better. It's only going to get better.
And they picked up James Hudson from Cincinnati in the draft as well.
A beast.
Very good. That's reassuring. So, I don't want this necessarily to become a fantasy football centric show or anything like that, but for those of you that do play fantasy football, since our main show is about that, that gives you a lot of confidence right there in your offensive players. So my next question is about Baker Mayfield. So Baker Mayfield last season, it was kind of like the tale of two different seasons. It was insane. The first half of the season, he had 1,500 yards. He had over 2,000, almost 2,050 yards the second half of the season. His yards per attempt went up over a yard per attempt. He went from 7 interceptions the first half of the season to 1 the second half. His rushing yards went up. His completion percentage went up. And he did all this without OBJ. And he did all this with Jarvis Landry playing on injured ribs. What was that? I don't know. I want to say that spark. What happened that really caused this team to come together and Baker to start playing kind of out of his mind?
Paul?
Yeah, I think the key thing was obviously the O-line. He's got a lot of time on the ball, and he's got a huge selection of weapons out there. Okay, Odell wasn't around much last season, but we've got great tight ends, we've got great receiving running backs, and obviously we still got Landry and a handful of great wide receivers. So to be honest, Baker Mayfield is a little bit spoiled, but he's there's a lot of doubts, and he's number 1 draft pick, and he's going out there. And I think with the confidence and the swagger he has, there's no reason why he can't be another playoff quarterback or even a Super Bowl quarterback.
I have to agree with Paul there, but I'd also like to think that it was the break. They were a new coach, new scheme, new system, new left tackle, new right tackle, new right guard. You have to have time. There was COVID. Now, I know everyone was under the same COVID protocols and there was a lot of new coaches and whatever else, but you're talking about a bloke who's had 4 head coaches, 3 play schemes, and different voices in his head, whether it be offensive coordinators or head coaches calling the plays. That time off, that week off to sort of stop and recalibrate is probably the key factor. And I hate it when national media and other people say, oh, it's because OBJ went out and he was trying to force the ball. He wasn't. Have a look at that Dallas game. They clicked. They were working together. They created magic. But I think it was that week off. They had time to stop, recalibrate, breathe. And Coach Callahan probably sat him down and had a chat with him, as did AVP. Get together and talk and work together, because those COVID protocols were starting to be eased a little bit by that stage. That's just my humble take.
I 100% agree with that, and that's exactly why I have OBJ ranked a little bit higher than most in the fantasy ranks. So those of you that watch the show regularly, this man right here is explaining to you why I seem like I'm insane. I haven't given up on OBJ yet. He still has incredible talent, and he still has more to show. So just want to shout out to Andrew Campy right now, who's giving you a shout out. The medic front lines, thanks for fighting over there in Australia, buddy. We really appreciate that.
I appreciate it. Thanks, Campy, mate. You're a legend. Love you, buddy, even if you are a Cowboys fan.
Paul, I'm sorry. It looked like you were about to – even though you're the Cowboys fan. It looked like you were about to say something.
No, let's try and get as many Browns fans on this and as little Cowboy fans as possible. But I am excited about the Cowboys Hard Knocks. That looks quite interesting.
That is going to be a crap.
It's insane, too, how they always seem to choose the worst teams to cover. So
because we know how much Jerry hates stuff about Jerry.
Yeah.
He totally hates getting in front of a camera. He hates a microphone. So why
Right, exactly.
Makes no sense.
So you already hit on my next question, where we decided that it's criminally insane that people are saying that Baker did better without OBJ because OBJ wasn't on the field. So we've got that covered. So let's move on to the defense, guys. The Browns defense ranked kind of in the middle of the road across the board in most categories. They really focused their draft on defense, I could tell, especially early on. So do you see these rookies making that much of an immediate impact for this season? Or is there anything else on that defense that maybe we could watch for that to kind of help show some kind of improvement on the defensive side of the ball?
I think, Greg Newsome is definitely going to be playing a lot of snaps straight away. We've drafted him high up. Obviously, McGreedy had some problems. You've got Denzel Ward. and we all know that Joe Woods likes to play three cornerbacks as much as possible. So yeah, I think Newsom will get a lot, and then maybe the free agent guys will, like the captain of the Rams. What's he called? I've forgotten his name. John Johnson. I think he'll be a key ping into our defense.
Outstanding.
You've got blokes that we've picked up in free agency, and I thank you for Mr. Walker, Justin. Both of them, JJ3 and 54, Mr. Walker, wore green dots, and you heard the leaving message that your senior linebacker left on Twitter and on YouTube about him. He's clearly a team guy, and that's what we need. He understands the pillars of the team, as does JJ. I think those improvements, because to be brutally frank, you had Robert Jackson playing as a starting cornerback in a playoff game. He's a great special teams player, and we need all three phases covered. Every team does. We forget about the third phase of special teams quite often because we all get blinded by the hype, and that's great. But he's not a starting corner in a pink fit. But the guys that we've drafted and the guys that we've acquired in free agency, and even Troy Hill as being a senior guy who's been around. He's a Cleveland man or an Ohio man, so he wants to come home. He wants to wear that jersey with pride again. You and I were talking earlier, Justin, about the 20 years and the 370,000 quarterbacks that we've had. We've had just as many, probably twice as many cornerbacks that haven't had. We let Joe Hayden walk. We've got that real chance now to make a fantastic secondary. And as Paul rightly points out, Joe Woods loves multiple safeties and multiple corners. So whether or not you put them as just in the inverted commas of DBs, we're starting to head in the right direction. We're no longer like a block of Swiss cheese. We're going to be an iron wall.
Yeah. Very good. I like that optimism. I said at the top of the show, we try to keep these episodes positive. I knew that wasn't going to be any trouble at all for Browns fans because, for one, you guys are always optimistic, and for two, there's a lot going on to be excited about with this team. The next thing I want to touch about that you might be a little excited about are all those weapons for Baker. So we already discussed that Jarvis was playing injured and OBJ had his injury. He was out half the season. That really gave the rest of the wide receiving core an opportunity to step up and get some playing time. You mix that in with all the tight ends. You guys have a lot of tight ends there. There's a lot of good talent weapons-wise for Baker to go to. So, I mean, I guess a very general question is there anything about the weapons that you guys would like to maybe touch bases on? Maybe somebody in particular that you're watching for this season that non-Browns fans like myself might want to watch for as well, just to watch football.
Yeah, I think Donovan Peoples-Jones from Michigan, 6th round pick. He was expected to go a lot earlier. Very good at high school. Yeah, he potentially. You've got to understand that Landry and Odell, I'm afraid to say, with our cap, they can't be here forever, paying him that money. So, yeah, I think they'll be testing out the likes of Donovan Peoples-Jones quite a lot, and just to see, is he our future wide receiver? And then the fast little whippet that we've got. Let me get his name up. What's he called?
You mean in the draft?
Yeah, what was he called?
Anthony Schwartz.
Schwartz, yeah. We're in off season, so I haven't got used to saying their names. Yeah, so Schwartz is like a speed guy. Mm-hmm. So it'd be really interesting to see how much we use him and Donovan Peoples-Jones. Obviously, Odell Landry will be getting a lot of the snaps, but don't underestimate these two. And then we've got Hollywood Higgins, who Baker Mayfield just absolutely loves. You throw the ball to him and it sticks to his hands. They've got a great relationship. So, yeah, at this stage, wide receivers, I feel like we've got a great mix, a great core, and it's about building for the future with that wide receiver team.
As Meatloaf said, Paul, you took the words right out of my mouth. DPJ. Now, I don't know if you've seen, Paul, any of the videos out of the mandatory mini camps, or even yourself, Justin. DPJ has made himself, and I listen to a number of podcasts of varying degrees, and obviously, surprise, a lot of them are Browns, and one particular a guy who works for ESPN and Paul has knows is Bo Bishop. He does a lot with Ohio State. He works for 2 different radio stations and does sort of an Ohio State stuff. And Urban Meyer wanted DPJ. He was the number 1 ranked wide receiver in the high school draft, wanting to bring him across. And the difference that he said, seeing DPJ this year turning up to mandatory minicamp versus what he saw when they were able to come back to Cleveland, was he's now fully formed, as in his body looks harder, leaner, and bigger. If he had been at Ohio State, he would have been a first-round draft pick because he would have already had that training, that conditioning, that building up. He now looks bigger, stronger, and faster, which is going to make it scary for defenses because he's a big unit. Schwartz, as Paul rightly pointed out, is another one. Genuine world-class speed. I mean, the kid won a junior world title in, I think it was Finland or Norway or somewhere like that. He is going to be the burner that we need. And I'm sure Paul agrees with me. Last year, we lacked, even when OBJ was in the side, we lacked that second chance of having vertical speed threat. He is your genuine world-class speed.
Well, I tell you what, something else that I like about Schwartz is that, I went back and watched some of the college game film. That dude is gritty too. He fits into that Cleveland Browns mentality of, I don't care what the situation is, I'm going to tough it out, I'm going to play hard, and I'm going to enjoy the game. I think he has that mentality that's perfect for the Cleveland Browns.
Blue collar worker.
Yep, there you go. I heard somebody mention something about the coaching staff earlier. I believe that was you, David. You kind of mentioned something about the coaching staff. Do we still have total confidence in this coaching staff?
100%. Not even bat an eyelid. It's the first time in a long time. I'm not even going to hazard a guess. Paul might know. He might have the history on it, that we've been able to bring back an entire coaching staff for a second season. There's 2 teams in this league.
Well, that's why I asked the question. I'm worried.
Yeah.
That's not normal.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think Paul's going to agree with me when I say we're going to lose people this year. There's no, if we live up to the hype, this is completely different 2019 hype this year than then. If we live up to the expectations of what we're setting ourselves, and we're not fearful actually this time of saying it, before we'd say it only amongst Browns fans, geez, I hope this goes all right. Now we're saying we really genuinely have a chance. We're going to lose coaches. There's no 2 ways. But as I was saying, there's only 2 teams in the current NFL that are bringing back 100% of their coaching crews. That's the Bucs, Super Bowl champs, and us. At this stage, I hate to say it, but we're still pretenders. But if we can do what we should do, we can go from pretenders to contenders, without a doubt.
Cool. Outstanding. Paul?
I'm just a little bit worried that everything seems too good to be true at the moment. And that's, sorry for being the negative one.
No,
obviously,
normal Browns fan, Paulie. Normal Browns fan.
Cleveland Browns fan. Anything can go Brownsy up, okay? So, yeah, for me, I just don't like the way that we're look too good on paper at the moment. I just would have preferred us to be the underdogs and just not be so much in the media, TV and blah, blah, blah. But, you can't change that. We have got one of the most loaded teams in the NFL, and now it's our job to execute. So if we don't get anything less than playoffs, it will be a poor season for us.
And you're right, Paul, and I agree with you 100%, mate. But we have to always have the caveat, as every team does, depending upon injuries. Because at the end of the day, there's 11 aside against 11 aside. Three ways, three tiers. we don't know what's going to happen. For goodness sakes, not that I want anything bad to happen to anybody, because you never like seeing injuries on any team. I don't care how much we dislike certain teams. You never, ever want to see another human injured doing the sport that they love, but we still have to be mindful of that. But having said that, at least we have, for once in our lives, well, in the last 20 years, tools still in the toolbox that we can bring out, if you know what I mean. Right. So, I think guys to be considered underrated is someone like Felton out of UCLA, the running back, receiver, returner, Swiss Army knife on the offensive side. Don't discount him as a fantasy football potential. Having said that, be mindful, obviously, until Labor Day cuts. I appreciate all that. But at least for once in a lifetime, we're not watching those cut downs like we have done for the last 18 years, or previous 18 years, I should say. Oh, crikey, who's the Steelers let go? Who's Ravens let go? Who's the Colts let go? Who's Baltimore, who's Denver let go? Quick, we need a receiver, we need this, we need that. Let's be realistic about it. As Paul rightly points out, we're one step away from browsing out like we have done 1,000 times before. But I think we can at least be that little bit optimistic and not have to say it behind closed doors, because, like I said, we've got bits and pieces still in the toolbox. Sheldrick Redwine and Greedy Williams. Yes, we don't know what's happening with Greedy with the nerve injury. Appreciate that. And they're talking about him being potential trade bait to Xavier Howard. You know what? I'd rather have Greedy than Xavier Howard, because I've seen that contract and I've seen bits and pieces about other issues. I'd rather have Greedy. Sheldrick comes out and takes interceptions on opening draw when he's needed to come in, at crucial times. He's done it. Is he a long-term prospect? I honestly don't know. Probably not, but he's going to be useful on special teams because he's not scared to hit people. That's just, my 2 cents.
Outstanding. So, Paul, you actually kind of segued into my final question, which is expectations. We all, as fans of our team, have expectations. You mentioned something about you would be upset if they didn't make it into the playoffs. So, looking back on the season at the end of the year, you're going to either be really happy with the way things settled, or you're going to think it's just another wasted Brown season. So, is the playoff that cutoff, or is it more of a performance thing? Is it more of a coaching thing, a defensive thing? Like, what's going to make you extremely happy at the end of the season? What's your expectations of the team?
Extremely happy is being in the Super Bowl.
But is that your realistic expectation?
No, but I think Super Bowl, let's be honest, we've got 2 years for a Super Bowl push. Just be realistic. Yeah. So, why not have the goal of Super Bowl and be happy to get to the Super Bowl? So, I think that's my happiness goal. Realistic goal would be 12-4. We've got a harder schedule than last year. We're starting off with the Chiefs. We've still got to play the divisional games. Bengals are going to be stronger. Don't underestimate Steelers and Ravens ever. So, I think 12-4, we'll get to the playoffs, and I think we'll have a good run in the playoffs. That's what I'm hoping for, and hopefully Super Bowl would be amazing.
Well, we've already discussed how a lot of times over here in America we do our own thing and screw things up. There are 17 games now, so they've decided to. So it would be 12-5 or 13-4. But I definitely see what you're saying. We've messed up the schedule. David, what are your expectations?
Paul, I echo what Paul says. Yeah, look, I mean, I spoke to Jason Hand at Brown's Huddle. We did a pod a little while ago, and when the schedule just got released and we were talking about it, and we were umming and ahhing about where to go. And I suppose, it's come out today over your side that Aaron Rodgers, surprise, no surprise to me, and probably none to either of you two, I'm going to stay at Green Bay. Yeah. Shock horror. Yeah. Oh, my. Like, who's going to go anywhere else? Give me a break. It could be its own episode of The Bachelor or, Love Island. We're in and out of love every 3 days. That's a guy. So we talked about it, and I was about the same sort of, odds and evens, 12-5, 13-4. I think that's and it's not even being arrogant or anything like that. I think it's a realistic number. You look at the team makeups, you look at where clubs are currently with their roster makeup and their coaching. There's a handful of coaches that are coaching for their careers. Let's be honest. And by the time we get to them, they might have been sacked.
And the Browns do have somewhat of a tougher schedule, but if you look at the schedule outside of Kansas, kicking off with Kansas City in week 1 and maybe the Vikings in week 4, like there are a lot of very winnable games early on for the Browns, and a couple divisional games if they pick up the right divisional wins. I mean, I would say 12 wins is definitely a possibility.
Yeah, guys, don't forget the Steelers last year. Like, they were thinking about going unbeaten, and then they come up with it against the Cleveland Browns. I think the main thing is getting to the playoffs with the ability to win playoff games. I think that's the most important thing for me. Not necessarily, okay, we've gone 13-3, 12. We nick it 10-6. But if we've got that momentum during the playoffs to get to the Super Bowl, that's all that I care about.
That's awesome. I'm glad I finally pulled it out of you that you were able to rub in a little bit of that nana boo boo to the Steelers fans there. So I'm gonna hurry up and try to end this thing before any of them comment on YouTube, and so that you will have had the last word. So back to my banners here to say goodbye. Again, thanks a lot, Paul. Appreciate your time. I know this one episode was not even the most difficult to schedule because you guys were really awesome about being flexible. And I've got one of you in Australia, one of you in England, and I'm in the Midwest, and we were still able to make this happen. So I really appreciate your flexibility and your time. Guys, check out Paul Brown's vlog. Check out his YouTube channel. You will not be disappointed. And David, I have a feeling we're going to start working together a lot more because of all of our connections, and I'm perfectly cool with that. You were incredible.
Thank you so much, sir. Appreciate it.
Just like somebody, I believe it was Joe, commented in the comments, you guys deserve to have this. You guys deserve to have this potential great season and the excitement build up. Browns fans in general are probably a pretty worn down fan base for the most part. So I'm excited for you guys as well. And above all else, this episode gave me an opportunity to wear the orange shirt that my wife doesn't like. So
well, I like it. I think it makes you look dashing. Dashing young man.
Thank you.
Can you pass the message on to your wife, please?
What's that?
I don't like her too.
I'll let her know when she wakes up.
Cheeky blighter.
I'll be offline by then, hopefully.
It's not a brown shirt, so
mate, it suits you. The background, the color,
That was all, guys. That was all for you guys.
Justin, you're 3.5 hours away from Cleveland. I think you're making a mistake.
You're an adopted Browns fan.
No, I'm a lot closer to Indianapolis. All right.
Well, I've got my victory mug, and it's not even having coffee in it. It's got bourbon because it's Monday night for me.
Well, I can't wait for the bourbon. I got to wait for the night, but I have my Christmas coffee mug. So, all right. Well, again, thank you very much for your time, guys. You have a great day, and I look forward to working with you guys. If there's anything Toilets and Titles can do for you guys in the future, just let us know. We're there for you.
Thanks, Justin. Cheers, mate. Good to see you, Paul.
Justin. Go Browns.
Go Browns.